One of the great things about the Summoner in Pathfinder 1E is that there are so many ways to play it. Some choose to partner with powerful outsiders to dominate the battlefield. Others call forth inexhaustible legions from beyond to rend their enemies with tooth and claw. Others even go so far as to offer themselves body and soul to their Eidolons, merging in a most terrible and glorious union. But none of those are my way. I like to make use of the Summoner's fighting skill, hit dice, and armor proficiencies. I'm concerned with the special abilities of my friends from the other side, not just their potential as cannon fodder. And I prefer an Eidolon brimming with arcane power. In order to successfully execute on this build, you need the classic Summoner, not the Unchained version. The race I recommend is Half-Elf, for a few reasons. The Summoner's favored class bonus for the Half-Elf gives you plus 1/4 of an evolution point, so every 4 levels, that's an extra evolution point. I also like it for the Ancestral Arms racial trait. This gives you proficiency with a useful weapon. I recommend Earthbreaker or Greatsword. This build is feat intensive, so it's best to have a simple, powerful melee weapon. Now that you know what we're trying to accomplish with the race, let's talk about your ability scores. First off, strength. This is important for melee combat. Next, dexterity. A positive modifier in dexterity is nice for this build, as AC is a weakness of this character. You only have proficiency with light armor, so any bonus is a good thing. Next, Constitution. A positive modifier again is good because this character is meant to be in melee combat. Now on to your mental scores. Intelligence. Sadly, this is the dump stat. Intelligence doesn't matter a whole lot for this build. Wisdom. A positive modifier is nice because it contributes to saves. Finally, Charisma. This is your casting stat, and you're going to need it for your summon monster spell-like abilities. Having a high charisma modifier is something you should prioritize. I've gone over the Summoner in depth elsewhere, so I'm not going to give a full breakdown of the Summoner class features. I'm only going to focus on the ones that are impacted by this build. Number 1 is the Eidolon. This build for the Eidolon focuses on ranged combat using spell-like abilities. The base form that I recommend for this Eidolon is Serpent, because the Serpent has a dexterity score of 16. The Eidolon needs a high dexterity score so it can hit with ranged touch attacks. Also, I recommend making this Eidolon small size category. It gets a +2 to dexterity, a +1 to its AC, and a +1 to attack rolls. The Eidolon loses out considerably in its melee combat ability, but you're not going to be utilizing that anyway. So, now that you have your Eidolon, what kind of evolutions do you take? Well, there is a very interesting set of evolutions that give your Eidolon spell-like abilities. These evolutions come in 1, 2, 3, and 4 point levels. The 1-point version is Basic Magic. This grants your Eidolon a spell-like ability usable 1 time per day. You can choose from Acid Splash, Dancing Lights, Daze, Detect Magic, Flare, Ghost Sound, Light, Mage Hand, Ray of Frost, Stabilize, or Touch of Fatigue. At 4th level, this spell can be used 2 additional times per day by spending 2 additional evolution points. The caster level is equal to the Eidolon's hit dice. The Eidolon must have a charisma score of at least 10 in order to use this evolution. You can take this evolution more than once, but each time you have to select a new spell-like ability. By the way, all Eidolons have a charisma score of 11 by default. Now, that's not the most impressive spell list, but as you increase in level, this build really takes off. The 2-point version is Minor Magic. You must have Basic Magic in order to get Minor Magic. This grants your Eidolon a spell-like ability usable 1 time per day. You can choose from Burning Hands, Comprehend Languages, Cure Light Wounds, Detect Evil, Good, Law, or Chaos, Magic Missile, Obscuring Mist, Silent Image, Vanish, Self Only, or Ventriloquism. At 7th level, the spell can be used up to 3 times per day for spending 2 extra evolution points. That's a total of 4. The caster level is equal to the Eidolon's hit die minus 2. Your Eidolon must have a charisma score of 11 to take this evolution, and you must be 4th level to give your Eidolon this evolution. Also, there's another 2-point evolution you'll have to take in order to get access to the most powerful magic evolutions. Ability score increase. You only need to take this once, and you need to raise your Eidolon's charisma score by 2. It's a small investment that will pay big dividends. The 3-point magic evolution is Major Magic. You must have Minor Magic to take this evolution. This gives your Eidolon a spell-like ability usable 1 time per day. You can choose from Acid Arrow, Cure Moderate Wounds, Darkness, Daze Monster, Glide, Invisibility, Self-Only, Lesser Restoration, Levitate, Minor Image, Scorching Ray, See Invisible, and Spider Climb. At 10th level, the spell-like ability can be used 3 times per day by spending 2 more evolution points. That's a total of 5. Caster level is equal to the Eidolon's hit dice minus 2. The Eidolon must have a charisma score of 12 to take this evolution, and you must be level 7 before giving your Eidolon this evolution. Just like basic and minor magic, you can take this evolution more than once, but you must select a different spell-like ability. Finally, the 4-point version is Ultimate Magic. This grants your Eidolon a spell-like ability usable 1 time per day. You can choose from Arcane Sight, Create Food and Water, Cure Serious Wounds, Daylight, Fireball, Fly, Gaseous Form, Lightning Bolt, Major Image, Stink Cloud, Tongues, and Water Breathing. Unlike the other evolutions, more casts cannot be purchased. The caster level is equal to the Eidolon's hit dice minus 2. Your Eidolon must have a charisma score of 13, and you must be level 11 before you can give your Eidolon this evolution. Finally, you must have the Major Magic evolution. Now that you know the full scale of your options, let me give you an example spell list. At level 11, your Eidolon will be caster level 7. It will have an evolution pool of 20 points, 15 from the Eidolon itself, 3 from feats, and 2 from your favorite class bonus. With basic magic, spend 1 point to get Dancing Lights. Minor magic, get Magic Missile, usable 3 times per day. This will give you 4 missiles per cast, and you'll have spent 4 evolution points. Major magic, take Scorching Ray, usable 3 times per day. This is 2 rays per cast. At this point, your Eidolon will have a plus 16 to hit on touch. This is from a base attack bonus of 9, plus 6 dexterity, and a plus 1 size bonus. It could even have a better chance to hit with the ray if you choose to take the weapon focus feat with ray. Spend 5 points for this spell-like ability. Finally, for Ultimate Magic, get Fireball for 4 points and Lightning Bolt for 4 points. All of this adds up to your little friend having quite an arsenal of spell power to deliver where and when you choose. Before I move on to talk about the Summon Monster class feature, let's take a look at your feats. At first level, grab Extra Evolution. This gives you an additional evolution point. At 3rd level, take Spell Focus Conjuration. This is a prerequisite for augmented summoning feats. At 5th level, get another extra evolution. At 7th level, get Augmented Summoning. This will give your summons +4 strength and constitution, making stronger, more durable summons. At 9th level, grab Evolved Summon Monster, a very powerful feat that allows you to apply a 1-point evolution to one of your summoned monsters. This allows for a lot of cool, creative, and powerful options in and out of combat. Finally, at 11th level, grab another extra evolution. Now, it's time to talk about Summon Monster and some of the exciting things you can do with it. First, remember, you're better at casting Summon Monster than a normal mage. Your casting time is 1 standard action instead of 1 round. The summon remains for 1 minute per level instead of 1 round per level. Now, if you would like a full breakdown of how the summon spell works, check out my guide to summoning. I go over it in detail there. One of the things that makes Summon Monsters so powerful are the special abilities your monsters have access to. A real go-to for Summon Monster are elementals. There are a lot of sub-varieties, they show up frequently in the spell list, and they can let you do some cool stuff. Air elementals have flying, with perfect maneuverability. The feat Fly by Attack. This lets them move, attack, and continue on moving, making great use of their huge fly speed. Finally, they have an ability called Whirlwind. For 1 round, per 2 hit die, the air elemental can become a small tornado. The tornado does not provoke attacks of opportunity, even if it enters the square of another creature. Creatures in the whirlwind can't make attacks of opportunity or threaten squares around them. Creatures 1 or more sizes smaller than the whirlwind can take damage equal to the slam attack of the elemental, and may be lifted into the air. Reflex saves avoid damage and being picked up. If the whirlwind is on the ground, it creates a debris cloud. Creatures caught in the whirlwind, if the whirlwind is on the ground, have their vision blocked, even dark vision. Their vision is blocked beyond 5 feet. Creatures within 5 feet have concealment. Creatures beyond 5 feet have total concealment. Attempting to cast a spell in the whirlwind requires a DC 15 plus spell level concentration check. Another great variety of elementals are earth elementals. They have an ability called Earth Glide. This allows them to pass through stone, dirt, and almost any kind of earth except metal. They also have a feature called Earth Mastery. This gives them +1 on attack and damage if both them and the enemy are touching the ground. However, if either one of them are not touching the ground, then they take a -4. Then there are fire elementals. They have an ability called Burn. On a successful melee attack, the elemental deals fire damage in addition to melee damage. As an example, a small category fire elemental does 1d4 blunt damage plus 1d4 fire damage. The creature must then make a reflex save to not be caught on fire for 1d4 rounds. Attacking a fire elemental unarmed or with natural attacks will cause the attacker to take damage as if hit by burn, and it must make a reflex save to not be set on fire. One of the most circumstantial elementals are water elementals. They have an ability called Vortex. This functions like Whirlwind, but in water. They also have Water Mastery. This functions like Earth Mastery, but in water. Water elementals really benefit from having the home field advantage. If you want to have some real fun with armored opponents, try Lightning elementals. They have an ability called Metal Mastery. This gives them a +3 on their attacks if their opponent is wearing metal armor or is made of metal. They also have an ability called Sparking Leap. This gives them a whopping +10 bonus on Bull Rush, Disarm, Overrun, and Trip attempts against opponents wearing metal armor. Finally, you might consider Ice Elementals. They have an ability called Numbing Cold. When an Ice Elemental deals cold damage, the target must make a Fortitude save or be staggered for 1 round. And that is one hell of a debuff. Some non-elemental summons for you to consider are Lemures. This is a type of devil. They have DR5, and this makes them effective blockers. You'll also get access to them early, so it's an option worth considering. I'm also a fan of Lantern Archons. They have an ability called Aura of Menace. Hostiles within 20 feet must make a DC 13 will save or take a -2 penalty on attacks, AC, and saves for 24 hours. They also have the ability to detect evil at will, and a +3 bonus on knowledge planes checks. This can be significantly improved with the 1-point evolution Skilled. Another great utility summon are Nozoi. This is a type of psychopomp. They can go invisible at will, which makes them excellent scouts. They also can cast Speak with Dead. However, you'll only have access to this once you've reached level 11, as it has a 10-minute casting time. Finally, the Nozoi have a very high bonus to knowledge history. Consider summoning one to help with that knowledge check. Finally, Dretch Demons are surprisingly useful. They can cast a number of helpful spell-like abilities, including Stink Cloud. This nauseates living creatures, and nauseate is a very bad status effect. They can use this 1 time per day. They can also cast Cause Fear, again a dangerous debuff, usable 1 time per day. Finally, they have Damage Reduction 5, which makes them good blockers. Now I'd like to break down some of the tactics you should consider using if you play this summoner build. Number 1, use your Eidolon's spells. He gets them back every day, and after he's finished casting, you can just dismiss him. Utilize summon monsters for their special abilities and for fighting. You have a lot of casts of summon monster every day, so feel free to use them. Next, Summoner has access to a lot of great control spells, like Create Pit. The spell also scales excellently with versions like Spike Pit, Acid Pit, and the truly awesome Hungry Pit. And you can't go wrong with Black Tentacles for control. Next, even if you choose not to have spells like Planar Binding, Contact Other Plane, or Contact Entity on your spell list, you can still make use of them through scrolls. Also, spells that let you commune with the powers beyond is great flavor for the character. Your use of magic items is also benefited by your high charisma score, allowing you to have a very high use magic device skill. Finally, one of the weaknesses of this build is AC. As a summoner, you only can cast in light armor, and your dexterity score isn't a high priority. You have a lot of things you need your ability scores for. Fortunately, you can get around that with some forethought. I highly recommend a Mithril breastplate. This has a high AC, and because it's made of Mithril, it's treated as light armor. Pick one up when you can and get it enchanted to stay competitive throughout the game as you level. I'd like to end with some inspiration for this character. Starting off, Pipe Foxes. A great way to envision the Eidolon is as a pipe fox. These interesting hybrids of foxes and snakes have a long tradition in fantasy of being the allies of spellcasters and sorcerers. You can see examples of pipe foxes in the game Okami or the anime XXX Holic. Another source of inspiration comes from my second favorite traitor legion in the Warhammer 40k grimdark future, the Wordbearers. The Wordbearers Legion have specialized officers called Diabolus. They specialize in summoning warp entities to help the Wordbearers in battle. They also carry captured daemons in sealed clay jars, which is a very cool way to visualize your summon monster ability. Your character just carries these jars, or if you want to go with the Pipe Fox theme, like capped bamboo rods with monsters summoned inside of them, and you open them and unleash them. You might also look at the Scholar from the MMO Final Fantasy XIV. If you want to try packing your Eidolon with nothing but healing spells, you might get something like Elos and Selene, the healer pets from the Scholar job. Finally, an interesting way to flavor your spells would be if the spells were created by outsiders that you've bargained with, or have your spells somehow be conjuration related, like Black Tentacles being a tear in reality, briefly letting in an eldritch horror onto the prime material plane. Thank you for watching D6 Damage. If you'd like to support the channel outside of YouTube, check out Sorcerous, a dark fantasy RPG inspired by tabletops like D&D and Pathfinder, available right now on Steam. The link is down in the description. And if you'd like to take your game further, join the D6 Damage Discord, where you can find in-depth guides and discussions about Pathfinder and all things D&D.